All right, well, we'll call the meeting to order here, March 18th, 2026. Do the roll call.
Committee Member Trott.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Simon.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Sampath is absent. Committee Member Alana. Here. Thank you. Committee Member D. Alexander is sick and not able to make it today. Vice Chair Lang.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Burtis.
Here.
Thank you.
Let's salute the flag.
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, we'll start with the public comment period. Do we have any in-person or online folks who'd like to make any comments?
All right. If you're in person, you can come up to the microphone here, or looks like we do have a raised hand on Zoom from Jody Timms. So Jody, you can go ahead with your public comment when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Corte Madera Climate Action Committee and members. Jody Timms, Chair of Fairfax Climate Action Committee. Just listening in, see what you're up to, and supporting you all the way. Thanks.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate your interest in what we're doing.
We have another hand raised on Zoom from Andrew Allenson. Andrew, you can go ahead with your comment when you're ready.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Andrew Allenson. I'm joining with Jody, who've been supporting the Fairfax Climate Action Committee, as well as 350 Marin. So excited to join. And again, just kind of listening in too.
Great. Well, thank you for joining.
All right, that's it for public comment right now.
Okay. In that case, let's move on to approval of the minutes from the February meeting. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look them over. Any comments, corrections? No? Okay. Anybody want to move to approve?
I'll move to approve those minutes.
I'll move to second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Minutes are approved. Moving on to general business. This is kind of a continuation of the conversation we had last month of the individual subcommittee items. So we're going to go through the electrification preparation, which Karen will lead. Tree planting, Sarah's not here. Does anybody? Okay. Then we have the low water use landscaping. Are you leading that one? Okay, great. And then on the waste side, doing that one as well. Okay, very good. So let's start with electrification preparation, and over to you, Karen.
Okay, so let me just pull this up here.
Karen, let me know if you'd like me to share the document at any point.
Yeah, somehow I don't have it. I can just quickly. So we went through this is like the second or third round of this. And we're really searching for something to grab attention. And what I came up with was, you see in the listing, I don't have that in front of me directly, but it's okay, of the gases that are emitted from natural gas appliances and greenhouse gases and then air pollution. And Sarah came up with a couple drafts. We're still working on which one. Some nice illustrations, bubbles of the gases, and we'll figure out some sort of attention-getting way of describing these gases. And then if you go on to the next, if you scroll down, I guess I'm not seeing on my screen, Phoebe nicely pointed out there's 8 steps Marin County lists on, okay, you want to get rid of natural gas appliances, how do you do it? And these are 8 steps. So this is the message we've chosen. I think we just need another go round or two in terms of how to illustrate it. And once again, Sarah's really good with AI. I had no idea AI could be used well, but we're really choosing the manner in which we could present this, whether on a handout, postcard, poster, whatever, prior to any ruling that's going to come about actually needing to replace your natural gas space and water heater with heat pumps. But I wanted to run by the committee this message and get feedback before we go on to sort of the illustration, the format of it, as to what your thoughts are on the message.
Why don't we hold public comment until we've gone through all 4 of them? That's probably, to the extent that there is
Okay.
any. I think that's probably best. So we'll start with any clarifying questions people have. Okay. Yeah, maybe everybody can have a moment to read it. Karen, what is the intended format of distribution of this? Is this going to be a postcard, a poster? What is the?
Well, it's the way it's configured. It can be a number of things: handout, postcard, poster. I think once we get the illustration and make sure the message is kind of approved, we'll see what's timely. And we're also, again, waiting for the regulatory decision on whether or not these appliances are required. So if we want to get it out quickly, certainly postcards and handouts and or a poster for instance, for sure for 4th of July, possibly for, I know there was a garden event Sarah was thinking of. So the timing depends on it, but I think it could be a number of things. Also just put in the newsletter.
Right. Okay. I noticed in the agenda packet, there was it was a chart with a visual aspect.
Yeah, we had started with one visual and then Sarah came up with another, and I thought it could be misinterpreted, so I wanted to pull that. So we're still kind of working on that illustration end of it.
Okay.
I have a thought that shouldn't something be noted about the sunsetting on availability of gas appliances to kind of get people's attention?
Well, that was in one of the original messages, and I think Phoebe had a very good point in that. Well, number one, the sunsetting, as you're calling it, isn't final yet from either the air district or the state. And number two, there's a concern that it could cause people to run out and replace their gas appliances with gas appliances. So took a different tact.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I learned yesterday that the next update we're expecting from the Bay Area Air District is on May 6th, and staff will just be giving an update to the board at that point on discussions that they've had so far, but didn't seem like they intended on having anything finalized by then or presenting final regulations to the board at that point. So I think there's still a lot of uncertainty in how those regulations are actually going to be implemented.
Any other questions, or do we want to move to comments? Or both? Okay. I was thinking it might be helpful to, as part of this, mention the types of appliances as well. I think it comes across as a little bit abstract. I think if you could, I don't know if this is targeted specifically at heat pump water heaters or heat pump space heaters or exactly what you had in mind, but I think having some representation of, practically speaking, what would people do? I know this is more of the preparation piece rather than the adoption piece, but I think it'll crystallize it a little bit for people to see specifically what they might be adopting.
Okay, good point. And hopefully this is the version where I did specify. And Phoebe, if you can scroll down to the steps. Yeah, replacing gas, space and water heaters with heat pumps is most impactful. That's subtle if you feel like you want that to be more prominent, can certainly work that in.
Yeah, I think it would help.
Okay.
I also guess my other comment was I think there's a lot of words.
Yeah.
So I think a visual representation of some sort would be helpful just to kind of
Okay.
make it easier to digest initially, and then if people are interested, they can read through. But to me, it was a lot to digest.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, again, I think we're working on illustrations, but those are good points. Yeah.
Otherwise, I agree that, it needs to be a little catchier. But I think that like once I started reading it, it does feel like it answers all the questions that I would have. Like where do I start? What do I do? Who do I call? So I think the message is clear if it can be more concise.
Got it. Okay.
The other question I had, or comment, I suppose, there's no mention of kind of economic benefit or trade-off here. I'm not sure if that was deliberate or we just felt it was out of scope, or maybe we felt like we didn't have convincing argument that it's going to save you money or cost you money, or what the
I think it's so individual and it depends on what you choose and how much you use, that we can say it could save you money, but I don't think we can guarantee it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phoebe, but that's what typically I read.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I think typically in this climate zone, it can be a net positive, but I don't think we want to make any promises on that front.
No, I wasn't suggesting promises, but I wonder if there's some studies or something we can point to that say you may,
Yeah, I mean, we could include
two-thirds of people save X% or something to that effect.
yeah, and there's definitely efficiency data. Heat pumps are 3 to 4 times more efficient than gas appliances. So that's a fact that we could include and that sort of gets at that.
Yeah. And natural gas prices are going through the roof at the moment, but we don't know how long that'll last. But
Well,
at the end.
yeah, the one thing, yeah, the efficiency thing is, yeah, quite often electricity is much more expensive than natural gas. To your point, yes, natural gas is rising, but still natural gas is used as part of the electricity costs still throughout the state.
Right.
They're making a lentless heat pump dryer now that uses 1/3 the electricity of a normal dryer. And I'll do some more research into that. I didn't quite get when it was brought up at a Marin Electrification Council meeting. I didn't quite get where it was being made, but I think in Berkeley.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so in
Sorry.
summary, what I'm hearing is a little catchier, less words, show the appliances a bit more prominently, and try to focus that it can save money and or, well, definitely be more efficient and possibly savings.
Yeah, and I think the other comment would be, as Phoebe was alluding to, it may be a long time before we have clarity on the regulatory piece of this. So I would just proceed assuming that we're not going to know.
Right.
And in that mode, I guess having a sense of when you think you'd be ready to publish something and what format that would be.
Well, I think we can have something ready by next month. Yeah, and I'll poll the subcommittee within that time as well as to what format they think would be most effective given the time frame of a month or so.
Okay. So why don't we, for the next meeting, let's plan to have a kind of distribution plan, I suppose, to the
Okay.
extent you feel like you're ready from a content point of view, we can figure out when we'd like to get it out.
Okay, good.
Is that good input? You have what you need?
Yeah, no, it's very good input. And I want to thank Phoebe because, you know, the subcommittee, we sort of work around, but Phoebe's a very good voice of reason. So I think she can help as well.
Okay. I think I'm going to change what I said earlier. And in light of the fact that we have a comment, unless Phoebe tells me I can't, I think would welcome public comment on this item if you'd like to. If you could step to the microphone, thank you. And introduce yourself, please.
Just make sure it's turned on with the little switch on the top of the.
Hi, I'm Tracy Kwong, and I am a resident of Corte Madera, and I just didn't know there was a sustainability committee, and I'm taking a pottery class with Phoebe.
Oh, cool.
But I have a background in environmental science and all kinds of things related to that. And I guess and I've worked for PG&E before in their landscaping management group, and I do edible landscapes and all these kinds of things. And so one of my questions is on the just generally looking at this is like, I was just wondering, I don't know how anything is structured here, so I'm just kind of, asking general questions. Like, so is this going to be like a concerted effort between all the towns and the county? And is there a way to make the messaging consistent or somewhat similar between all the groups so that maybe the public would see it in a really consistent, repetitive basis with this type of information? I was just wondering.
I think that's a great point. We are leveraging, I would say, content from other organizations. Phoebe, do you want to comment a little more on exactly the level of coordination? The short answer is this committee does things for Corte Madera. We try to coordinate with other towns and also with what the county is doing, and to some extent leveraging the state if there is compelling legislation such as we have here. But we, at the end of the day, are acting effectively independently.
Right. Yeah, I would say a lot of towns and climate action groups across Marin County have similar goals. The extent to which each of them is able to take on an outreach campaign like this, I think varies. But some of this messaging did come from Marin County, which actually originally came from San Rafael and their climate work there. And there's also a more regional effort going on with the Air District. And so there will be at some point, some consistent messaging hopefully coming from them. It's just taking longer than we would like to get to that point. So that's why the committee is sort of moving forward with this sooner.
And it is referencing, as you can see, the Marin County sustainability website at the bottom. Karen, just actually one additional comment. I think the call to action here could be a bit sort of bolder. You've got the steps, but in terms of if really the next step is go click on this website and check out the resources, then I think that would be highlighted a little further.
Okay.
I might also mention that the switch for rebates, the switch is on is a great resource.
Right.
They've kind of compiled a list of who gives rebates, and
Right.
that's just a resource to mention.
Yes, and I believe that's, look again, I believe that's within the Marin County, but I'll double check.
I would just also recommend to Pat's comment about the website. If this is going to be a mailer, it might be more effective to be a QR code.
Right.
So that you can easily get there.
Okay, lots of input there.
No, they're all good. Thank you.
Lots to work with. Great. Okay, thank you. No further comment on that?
Yeah, before we move on, we did have another public comment
Okay.
on Zoom on that item. So Jody, go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to mention for your member of the public as well that Marin County produced this document, which I know you guys have, I believe, adopted the building electrification roadmap, which lists quite a number of strategies the county as a whole is taking and encouraging all the cities and towns to undertake. Their website is being seen as the hub for all the activity of the climate action and sustainability groups to refer people there. So just for instance, Fairfax and our climate action committee, we have a handout on electrification. We have these same steps listed because it comes from the county document. We actually rearranged them a little bit because we saw a little bit different order, made more sense. But to answer the question, yeah, I think there is a lot of coordination across the county. Also, a number of the cities meet monthly, who are, yeah, as Phil does and others, and tries to coordinate so that we can get consistent messaging. And with the county also about to launch their climate department and their climate director, that will move all of us into sort of more consistency and all of us kind of referring often to the county website so that community members across cities essentially are getting the same message. So yeah, I like what you're doing and I just wanted to fill that in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Any other comments on this one? Nope. Okay. Let's move on to tree planting. And committee member Trott will lead the charge here.
Yeah, so Karen and Sarah both met, and as a committee, we're going to move away from tree planting as much and focus a little bit more on native planting and wildfire prevention, and like how to design a garden in the best way to just be as safe as possible. And so Sarah put together a couple sample graphics that I have. I don't know if they were shared with you, Phoebe, but I have a couple in front of me. We can share them later, but just a couple sample graphics that we could use either as a poster or maybe on the town's social media pages, just as a way to educate the community on what's safe to plant and what the best native plants are. And then I spoke with some people at Redwood High School from the Redwood Bark about covering or making short informative videos about like or on this topic of what plants are safe to plant and how to prevent wildfires as best as possible. And they were interested in making a couple videos for us if we were interested in that. And I know we also have at our school, we have a program called Redwood TV, which broadcasts segments for the school every Wednesday or every Friday. And they would be happy to show this as well. I'm not sure if our main audience for planting is students at school, but I think they could also tell their parents or bring home some of this information to their.
Maybe just to back up a little
Yeah.
bit. So there's that content. There was the distribution of that content through the Bark.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then talk about the video. I kind of didn't get that.
Oh, yeah. It would just be a video talking about pretty much the same information that's provided on the graphics, but in just a little bit more of a engaging way. I think just to have people like it could be just art illustrations with a voiceover.
And that would be where?
Yeah, it could be posted on the town website. It could just be a YouTube link that we could repost on our social media, or it could be just made like specifically for the town, and it wouldn't have to be posted on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Pat, can you make sure your microphone is on?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I asked, did you hear the questions?
No, that's okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Got the answers.
Okay, any clarifying questions? Then we'll go to public comment and then committee comments.
To clarify, this is for the tree planting subcommittee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the emphasis, are you still including tree planting or is it more on landscape?
It's
Just wondering to what degree are we overlapping a little bit with the,
it's shifting a little bit more to um like garden design and native plants and um specifically wildfire safe planting.
okay. What was the reason for that? Is it getting away from the tree planting?
Well, I was actually sick, so I don't know if Karen could touch on the specifics of that call, but I was in urgent care, but
Gosh.
I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add to that, Karen.
I, I think, as I recall, Sarah's decision was, it just got a bit complicated in terms of the trees, where to plant, how to plant, that sort of a thing. I think Sarah was just more drawn to this because ugh, it's just a bit of an easier, I guess, an easier task, really, something everyone could do as opposed to trying to think about the trees. But I may be mischaracterizing this. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like it has in a good way a really specific reason to act. It's fire season and maybe I'm guessing maybe that was a reason to like a very specific call to action.
Right. Let's open this up for public comment and then we can have a quick discussion on this. Do we have any public comment on this one?
I actually have helped Cal Poly develop their select a tree database, and I've developed that, and I'm a master gardener, and so if anyone needs help on any fire safe planting, I can just help out in some subcommittee or something like that. Because I also do garden design, and all of my garden design is that way, and I've been educating the people and school gardens and things like this on this specific topic for 20 years.
Great. Assume Phoebe has your contact information. If we wanted to follow up on that. Okay. So there you have an excellent resource to lean on. Any other public comments on this?
Any additional public comment at this time?
Okay. Is there any way, so you don't have a digital copy that we could show for the,
I have a digital copy. I can email it to you, Phoebe, right now if you'd like.
I think we're curious to see what you've got there. While you're doing that, I think it'd be worth, and I can follow up with Sarah perhaps when she's back online to try to understand the reasoning a little more here. Because it seemed like there was some momentum around the tree planting, and I think that got, if I remember, it got the most votes of any of the topics that we talked about here. So I think shifting away from that probably bears further discussion from the committee. It also strikes me that if this is becoming much more of a landscaping discussion, that maybe we can combine it, or at least make sure there's close coordination between the other subcommittee, which is on landscaping.
One thing, Pat, I just recall adding, I think Sarah's original intent was town park, and finding out that plan was really more within the town's purview. I think that was one reason for the shift.
Yeah, and I'll just add there because, yeah, I think I had mentioned at a previous meeting that, there's not a lot of bandwidth right now for the park tree planting. So that may have been part of the reason why there were some other actions prioritized in the meantime. However, there has been a new opportunity that's come up since the last meeting that I mentioned in an email to the landscaping subcommittee, but there's a new state law related to non-functional turf not being watered with potable water. And there's a couple sites on town property that applies to. One is outside of the courtyard at 81 Lucky Drive, and the other is the fire station right next door. So those are two areas that are going to need to be re-landscaped in some form, hopefully this year. And so if the committee is interested in getting involved with either of those projects, which could include both tree planting and low water use landscaping, I think that would be very welcome. The fire chief did mention that he's interested in doing some kind of fire safe garden demonstration out in front of their building. So there may be some nexus with that as well. So just food for thought, another opportunity that might still fit into that original idea, which I think was the volunteer tree planting.
Great. That sounds great.
That sounds like a great opportunity to have a sort of demonstration plot or something. Is that what you're describing, if I'm understanding that? Yeah. Excellent. We should take advantage of that.
All right, I got Penelope's link.
Oh, yeah. These are just some of this is the research that she compiled actually, but if you scroll down a little bit, there's some of the infographic designs that she had started. Obviously would need a little bit more text, but I believe her idea was to have this be kind of in a poster form, or we could always do something like the postcards that we sent out earlier in the year.
Scroll back up. Oh, sorry. Phoebe, could you scroll back up and zoom in a little bit if possible so we can read it?
Good that there is
Yeah.
final text on this one. Looks like placeholder text. Yeah, I think it's just placeholder text.
Oh, okay, got it. Well, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think Sarah's very talented with AI illustrations, so we got to lean on that.
And again, the thinking for this in terms of use case is what?
Just to spread some of the awareness about maybe what is fire safe, because I feel like a lot of people might not be super educated about that. And maybe it could come in. This was just my idea and I haven't run it by yet, but if we did something like when we do any tabling events, we could do a kit that has some sample seeds and maybe this poster with some information about it. So people could kind of grab it and go and start to implement this at their own houses.
So that would be at the like 4th of July. Okay. And was this also something that would be distributed potentially in newsletter and
Yeah, that was the
postcard
thought.
or something?
Any way to spread the awareness. And I think we could also promote coming to some of the tabling events as with this as an offer.
So would there be a resource that sits behind this, like a website or something, if people wanted to go and get more detail on what types of plants and
Yeah, I believe she linked
talk to?
like
Yeah.
like Fire Safe Marin was something that she linked with like lists of plants that are best for, it says best for our climate and soil. So if we wanted to link that PDF that she has right there as a QR code on the poster and pass those out.
Okay. Do we have a timeline for the next steps here?
I can check in with her as soon as she's feeling better, but I mean, ideally we'd get it done as soon as possible because it is getting hotter and hotter. And so I'd say ideally by in the next couple weeks, it would be all designed and all the information would be out there, and we could think of best ways to get the message out, whether that's a postcard or flyers around town or these boxes.
Okay, yeah, the timing is, it's planting season, so it's a good time to do it. So let's see, I mean, we don't want the next meeting to be a gating factor here in light of that. So maybe if the subcommittee could coordinate with Phoebe.
Yeah.
If you want to circulate some content to committee members via email in the intro.
Yeah.
If there's any additional input or approval that's needed to kind of keep this moving, we can probably do that offline between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Any other comments on this one? Okay. Well, it looks like a good start, so thanks for that. Okay, let's move on to low water use landscaping, Brittany.
Yeah, so we've got in motion, we have partnered with Refugia of Marin to share a table at the upcoming, it's May 9th, Saturday, May 9th, the garden tour. And I've got a lot of notes here. So we are officially on the website as a participating organization. Marin Water will not be tabling this year, and I'll circle back in a moment with Phil to update. He was going to get some resources from them, but I'll just run through this first. So one of the ideas that came up was, really trying to, one, get more people there, and two, get people to the table. So we were throwing the idea of like how to involve children. And so we talked about rock painting, offering like a rock painting activity, which we think is something that is fun for kids. People are going to come to the park anyway, but it's something that we can kind of draw them over, and good for a wide range of ages of kids. And then Phil aptly pointed out, it's something that they can take with them as a reminder of what we chatted about. And so the idea is indeed to connect with master gardeners potentially, and who need hours. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get some of this wrong, but correct me. Graduates of the Master Garden program need hours to complete the certification, I believe. And so we thought we could connect. Sarah had some conversations with the Master Gardener Society about either being there or offering them as a connection to people who come over and do some kind of one-on-one appointments with people at their homes to discuss this, how they can get these rebates from Marin Water, and or if the rebates aren't on the table for some reason, how they can better think about their garden as it pertains to water. We also talked about yes, thank you, Phoebe, we want to have something that sends people, much like how they sort of listed steps for the electrification of appliances. We wanted to have something available like that. So we thought we would QR code to the page that currently exists with resources, but maybe we can either add some really specific steps on that page, or I know we can't it has to be government related to be on our site. But there were some other great resources that we found. Something UC Davis offers like a really great resource of plants that are great in this climate, or fire safe, or a number of great resources. So some of which are not government related. So maybe that's just something we can have with us there.
Just to jump in on that, Brittany.
Yeah.
UC school university sites are
Would be
fine
okay.
also. Yeah, it's
Okay.
just like we can't have for-profit websites. Like
Got it. Yeah, there's a
apples, just
couple
on the
for
town.
profit, but I think the UC Davis would probably cover all of the others anyway. So that's great. And then as far as, we talked about further outreach to really promote. And personally, I'm on like the kindergarten group chat, the WhatsApp chat for the Cove School, which is a great place to, once we have a flyer, which we haven't created yet. But I can, I'm like, I also have a neighborhood chat for Marin Estates. So those are really easy direct routes. But we were looking at something like Marin Mommies is a group that requires paid advertising, which is why one of the reasons I was inquiring about like if there's a budget or stipend available. We were also curious if some budget would be available for, I think Bill has access to rocks, but for, painting and maybe like candy or something to offer, just to really get, I think it's just so hard to get people to engage. So we're really pulling out all the stops. We're trying to, and other things like the Zero Waste Marin newsletter and things like that that are free and easy. So, for as far as action items, one last thing, Phoebe, we chatted about, and maybe you can help me elaborate, but potential for connecting with Public Works and a big compost offering that maybe would be not necessarily same day, same place, but something we could advertise later, or something we could advertise as you're thinking about low landscaping or low water landscaping and changing things around. In a few weeks from now, here's like step one where you can start to this compost pile that we're partnering with Public Works or however that might look. But we just thought it would be kind of a first, a nice action step to get people in motion like quickly after this experience or this conversation that we're having.
Just a question. Can you remind us about the in-person event that you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, so this is all part of that. So it's called the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership Eco-Friendly Garden Tour. And it's an event that will happen at I think at Tom Park from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, May 9th. And so Refugia, which Sarah's a part of, is already going to have a table. I honestly don't know who else is there, but I think a lot of other, usually it's like Marin Water and Zero Waste Marin, and other I don't know if like Ridwell will be there. But there's a number of participating tables and so we will share a table with Refugia.
Yeah, I spoke with Marin Water after our meeting and talked to John and in their water efficiency department, and they say they usually go to these events. So, I'll work with that more. They say they have a really cool garden display that they've made, and they also have an online quiz and some other things to stir up interest. So, I'll have to go there and see if they're going to be there. And, I agreed to meet with them. And if not, then they said we can borrow their garden display and
Great.
we can get some of their handouts and so forth. So
Yeah,
I'll be talking to them.
Thank you. That's great. And for some reason, I think Sarah mentioned they said they might not be attending this year. I don't.
Yeah, that's why I was a little confused about that, but I'll confirm that with them.
Okay.
And then about the rocks, I don't think we need funding for rocks. I can get rocks.
Just the paint.
Resourceful in that way.
Yeah. So my understanding is this is kind of like a walking tour around town, but it starts and ends, I think, at Town Park.
I think there's multiple sites throughout Sonoma and Marin counties that people can go to on this day. So I'm not aware that there's necessarily other sites in Corte Madera. I think that
Okay.
is like the main site in Corte Madera at the Refugia Garden
Got it.
in Town Park. But that there'd be other sites that people could go to if they wanted to see like an example of a garden in someone's front yard or something like that.
Yeah, it's a sort of a stopping point where hopefully they'd stay and engage for a bit.
Right. Let me invite public comment here before we open the discussion up. Any additional comments?
Flora's website has a great
Could you repeat that in the mic?
Cal Flora, their website has a great resource where you put in your zip code and it lists all the native plants for that zip code. And you can put in shade and different types of things. And Cal Flora might be able to, they do attend a lot of different events. But I also think giving out plants is a great idea. Even kids like the plants when I've done things with PG&E and school gardens.
Giving out plants, is that what you said?
Yeah, like when I've given out like poppies or something that the kids can relate to and that is kind of ubiquitous and you know you're just dealing with a small area. So I mean you have different soil types in Corte Madera, but you could still do something like poppies, which definitely is people are highly responsive to. Something like that.
Yeah. Just have to see if we have budget for poppies. Yeah.
Thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
Any other public comment on this one?
Not seeing any online comment at this time.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the committee?
I have questions or comments. Well, a couple things. Comments. Seems like there is a lot of overlap on the committees. The tree planning, both the other, but it's resolved. My main comment is, I'm not sure what your ask is. Are you trying to get people to replant their lawns for it to be less water? I don't quite, that to me isn't clear.
Sure.
guess-
Yeah.
Let me just also say, experience with 4th of July, granted mine is very limited. When we have really tried to engage children as a means of engaging parents, ends up just engaging children and becoming a more of a stop off for the kids to be entertained. So your ideas sound really fun and great, but just be aware that that can happen. So my suggestions would be really figure out what you're trying to get Corte Madera residents to do, and then maybe focus your actions on that. I really like the landscaping and the garden demonstrations and et cetera, but it's a bit overwhelming, I think, to just say, plant climate friendly plants. We're thinking more highlighting a plant or whatever. Handing out poppies, is that going to really, will it engage people to do what you want them to do, which I'm not clear. So I guess,
So that
yeah, I just cause and effect, maybe focus a bit more on that and maybe refine the plan a bit would be my suggestion.
I think the main draw is both involving master gardeners, who is the pull for the adults, obviously, to offer up this sort of one-on-one consultation, be it in the moment at the table, and ideally that leads to a conversation where they then make a plan for an assessment at their home. And in conjunction with promoting these rebates that are available from Marin Water.
So your ask is you want them to take out plants that aren't native or drought tolerant and replace them? Is that the ask?
I mean, the ask is to assess what's working, what's not working, what can be improved. And as far as the lawn question, yes. In conjunction with Marin Water, there's a pretty decent incentive that I think people simply
Right.
aren't aware of.
But my I guess my suggestion, similar to suggestions for the electrification, make that ask up front.
Mhm.
What is your call to action? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't, the next action items here include like confirming master gardener recruitment for this event and making sure we'll have them there. And if Murray Water's not
Yeah,
there,
that's, I'm sorry, but maybe I'm not making myself clear, but what is your ask of the Corte Madera resident?
to consider low water landscaping.
Okay, then I would just make that clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
low water landscaping can be whatever. Change your landscaping for low water. Yeah, make that very clear in the communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Penelope?
I was just going to add, because it sounds, I mean, I know we changed our idea a little bit, but it does sound like there's a lot of overlap. So do you all think that that the tree planting should focus more on wildfires and veer away from the native plants aspect if that's what landscaping is going to be focusing on? Or do you guys think it'll be all right if?
I think and I'd still like to understand the reasons why tree planting is no longer part of the plan, because there was a lot of support for that. So I think that bears further discussion. But if landscaping is going to be part of your subcommittee, I think we should either consider combining these committees. That's difficult from a Brown Act point of view. You can combine the committees, you just can't meet together unless there's more than three of you, right? So,
I mean, go ahead.
yeah. Or at least have very tight coordination, because I think a lot of the outreach, like I think you guys, if you're going to be present at this event, the subcommittee should also, the content that you're going to have should also be available. People should be there and so on. So it feels to me like there, at a minimum, should be seamless coordination, and possibly maybe those two subcommittees should be combined.
One possible thought is, given that there's going to be some replanting within front of the fire station, a couple locations in the town, maybe we can rethink if there could be some tree planting in those locations, some appropriate tree planting as a demonstration.
Yeah, I think that it's possible to keep these separate, being that this effort is a really specific one-day event. I think if they align on concept but have different action plans, they could continue separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a focal point event, but the initiative should be longer lived than that. So if you're going to develop all the content and do all the work and build the network with Master Gardener and all that, I think we want that to play out well beyond May 9th. So I think a sort of longer term plan for how to distribute that content would be great. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of overlap between the two committees. Maybe as a kind of takeaway item would be if you and I can meet with Brittany, you're the head person on this one, right? Okay. And either Sarah or Penelope from the other committee to try to get into the nitty gritty of how we would coordinate these two, because I think there's could be a lot of duplicate action going on that we probably.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it seems like there's different deliverables that each subcommittee is working towards. So I don't necessarily see an issue with them remaining separate, but I would say on the outreach materials, if you're both creating flyers, to be consistent and maybe see if there's an opportunity to consolidate there, so we're not, having a ton of flyers to hand out to folks. But yeah, we can chat more about that offline. We just need to make sure not to have any serial meetings outside of the Brown Act meeting.
Yeah, but you and I and the subcommittee heads can meet.
We could, but the subcommittee heads could not then go back to their subcommittees and share that decision outside of a meeting, because that would be a quorum, more than a quorum of committee members making a decision outside of a committee meeting. Sorry to
Okay,
complicate
well,
things.
we'll find a way to manage it. But good ideas. It sounds like you guys are on track. So the plan, May 9th obviously is coming up soon. So this have final content and plan by the next meeting.
Yeah.
Intention. Any other comments or questions on this one? No. Okay. Well, lots of good stuff there. So thank you. Okay. Final item is waste, and we're back to Penelope for this one.
Perfect. So, Phoebe put us in touch with Casey from Zero Waste Marin. And Brittany, you were able to meet twice, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
And so Zero Waste has a program called Zero Waste Schools where they focus on education around composting and recycling. Currently, there's around 40 schools in Marin County that participate, but they're all elementary schools. So our focus right now is trying to bring their education to a high school instead. I know Casey said that Zero Waste is already trying to work on some steps to bring this program to high schoolers, but we're not exactly sure how far along they are in that process. So I think the next steps probably would just be emailing them and figuring out what role we could play in advancing that and bringing and just speeding that up to high schoolers. And we also talked a little bit about different ways we can incentivize people to be more mindful about what they're composting and what they're recycling and wasting. And one idea Brittany had was clear compost bins, or on top of like trash cans, we could have 3D images of, or 3D designs of what goes in the bin specifically, just to help make sure everything's going exactly where it's supposed to go. I know not the main focus, but Redwood just had a bedding drive and that was pretty successful. So I think we could also do a clothing drive for people's clothing that's maybe too small, and we could either distribute it throughout Corte Madera or just find a better way to distribute it other than landfill.
So the focus is primarily on compliance then with existing regulation, is that, and getting the message out to high schools rather than middle schools?
Yes, because I mean, high schoolers have, I think, sometimes a bigger role in the wasting world.
Yeah.
Your footprint than middle schoolers.
Yes. So I think just trying to focus on, and I know it's going to be difficult because I think along with the larger footprint, there's a lot more resistance to changing exactly what they're doing. But I think this Zero Waste Schools has been pretty effective in all of their elementary schools that they've partnered with. And so like even trying to bring that to just a sample testing high school would be really effective.
That would likely be Redwood, is that the thinking?
I mean, most likely because it's just the closest high school to us, but
Yeah.
Ideally, if it goes well, we could try to expand it and work with maybe other councils to try to bring that process to the other districts.
Any public comment on this one or questions?
I can just elaborate on a couple of things. Zero Waste already does. It sounded like it was just twice a year. They do an audit, beginning of the year and end of the year at schools. I was having this conversation with Casey from Zero Waste that perhaps as extra credit from any class that would participate, there could be more frequent audits. And something else that came up was like behavioral surveys, something really easy and simple to respond to, like, do you go to school with your reusable water bottle? Do you bring a tote, something along the lines of like, do you use reusable material if you bring your lunch to school? And we could turn that into like measurable data that we could then turn back into really positive messaging that is like, 70% of Redwood students use reusable water bottles. and then send that home to their parents, as like really positive messaging, just as like sort of social pressure in a positive light. So things like that. There were a lot of really fun ideas. Historically, as Penelope mentioned, high school kids are just hard to reach. They don't always have lunch on campus. They don't sit in the same place in a cafeteria. But I asked her if she would be willing to like partner with us on any actionable items, and she said, they were already hoping to get into high schools in the near future. So we can definitely collaborate there.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure we check if there is any public comment on this one.
Not seeing any hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so back to.
Yeah, I mean, mostly that, we talked about the clear, a lot of the things we were talking about were like psychological, because to get like overt behavior change from high school students is difficult. So that's hence the clear compost bins that might be something to talk to school leadership about. It's there's a company called I think it's called Clear Streams, and it's like very prevalent at events where it's just like kind of wire pop-up trash cans that are, I'm sure you've seen them around. They're not great for long-term, like permanent, because they tip over pretty easily and the bags get heavy. But for something like, a measurable experiment, it just seems like something easy to propose to high school leadership, as something we can measure and potentially get the kids involved in measuring.
Okay. Bill, you have a comment?
Yeah. What does Public Works do with the waste that they generate when they're trimming trees and mowing grass and so forth?
You're asking in like town park and
Yeah, just on the streets and everywhere.
I don't know off the top of my head that we have a contractor that does most of the landscaping in town, and I would assume that they self-haul because they're generating enough or collecting enough organic waste, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look into that.
So they're not composting it here in town. There's no local source for compost.
No, it would be going to the compost at Redwood landfill.
So I have a comment. If taking it to high school sounds great. My concern is, are we focused on Corte Madera? I know, for instance, with students, we'd always wanted to, committee members, Corte Madera town residents, but this seems like it's going beyond that, which is really more county level. So I'm just wondering where the focus is and where our sort of task is in terms of geography.
I mean, we're focused on.
It's not a question necessarily for you. I know you're trying to get that, but I guess it's a question for Phoebe in terms of what the committee is focused on.
I mean, I would say that Redwood is the high school probably serving most Corte Madera high
Okay.
schools. So I don't see an issue with the committee focusing in that area, especially if it's a pilot effort. But I don't know, how many other high schools that Corte Madera residents go to, and we'd have to reach
Right.
out to all of those. There's probably.
I guess my concern was when there was talk of, we can start in this high school and then make it more broadly. It's one thing to have a pilot, but just the focus should, I guess, remember it is a town focus, I guess.
Yeah, I think Redwood High School would be a big win and is low-hanging fruit. And if Zero Waste Marin is open to the support from this committee, I think that would be great. It feels like an obvious next step. So, and you'll capture, I don't know the percentage, we're guessing it's 90% of Corte Madera high school age students attend Redwood or something like that. So it would be a great next step. Other comments on this?
I guess I just wanted to follow up on the composting issue that would seem if there was any feasibility of having a local composting component in town that Public Works could manage, where instead of hauling things off out of the town, that we kept them here and tried to recycle them here.
I,
You know, that might be a worthwhile effort.
I wonder what the efficiencies of that would be, and also would compost involve anything neighbors might object to?
Yeah, it would depend on it would have to be a suitable location. There's some reasonably remote locations, and it would result in less vehicle miles traveled, to haul the stuff up to get it. I know if I've gotten compost in the past, I've driven to the Casio to get it, and that's quite an effort. And if there was something local here, it could generate more interest in it if it was worthwhile and feasible.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Phil. I think that may be a little out of scope for what this.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about landscaping and tree planting, and
Yeah.
it's all here.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, understood. I think we talked about this a little bit before on the waste side of things, but I think this is true of all of the initiatives here. We just still want to make sure we're tying them back to climate mitigation in some form. And that's something that we should talk about a little bit on the landscaping side. So there's definitely an adaptation component to that, but we also want to make sure we're hitting the mitigation point, which is fundamentally what the committee's about. So the diversion of organics from landfill is a big one, obviously, and legislated by SB 1383. So I think the compliance piece of that resonates. There's, of course, reduce and reuse, right? So I'm thinking a little bit more about kind of lifetime footprint and consumer behavior around that. So I just encourage you to make sure we're tying the subcommittee activities back to the larger objectives into the climate action plan that we've got in place. But I think you're on the right track here.
Perfect. Thank you. Sounds great. We'll follow up on that and follow up with Casey. Try to focus this specifically, and we can get the statistic of how many Corte Madera teenagers attend Redwood High School to get like a good number for that too.
Okay, that must be a known number. So
I think wouldn't the relevant thing be what percentage of Redwood High School students are from Corte Madera? Because if you're making an effort for the whole high school, how much really relates to Corte Madera?
Yeah, that one's important too.
yeah, I'm sure we can find that out. Do you have another comment?
No, just that I suspect that if there's spillover into other towns, it still benefits us here in Corte Madera. If people are neighboring Larkspur, I can't see that as a negative.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, any other comments on this one? Oh, okay. Well, thank you for summarizing that. Did I hear one? Yes, okay.
One of the things I've noticed is that the shopping, and if you're going to focus on Corte Madera, the shopping mall on this side of the freeway, it pretends to compost. There are no composting facilities, and on the other side of the freeway, they actually do. So they do have. I just know enough people have worked in the stores there where there is no composting. So when Crate and Barrel breaks down all of their boxes, they just put them in the trash. And also all of the trash bins on that side, even though they say they compost, they don't. They just combine them afterwards. And I think it would be a great idea if you're going to focus on Corte Madera to look at that, because it's basically gaslighting people. And it would be a great project for maybe some high schoolers to take on. You could get it. I don't know. I mean, it could be something where you could promote that and say that this is what's happening here, and they're showing us that we are composting, but we're not. And every single company, even REI, is part of that. I know people who work there too. So it was just kind of shocking, but I think as teenagers, some people could have an impact on that. That'd be a great project. And
Yeah,
I think
I
go ahead. Yeah, well, there is an enforcement mechanism, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that is on my radar. It's on Zero Waste Marin's radar. We know there's issues with both of the malls just as a result of the situation of multiple stores sharing collection bins. Makes it really hard to figure out who's not following the rules when there's contamination issues in those um, bins that are there for all the businesses. And if there's a significant amount of contamination, then they do have to dump it all in trash because the Mill Valley Refuse Service that's picking up the waste can't be sorting all of that. So it is something that we're aware of, and I'm going to be working with Zero Waste Marin to come up with some strategies to address the situation and work with both of the malls to hopefully help them sort the waste better as they're required to do by state law.
That's a good comment. Thank you. Okay, any other comments on this? I think we're, kind of midstream, it feels like, on all these. We just started really a month ago on these, so good progress so far. We've got a couple of dates coming up, which are forcing functions for several of the committees, so that's good. Kind of drive us to completion here. And then why don't I'll follow up independently with each of the subcommittee heads and just to understand a little bit better what the plans are and whether there's if you have any need for support. So if we like posters and postcards and distribution and other things that might be necessary or helpful, let's have that conversation too. So things like buying seeds, if we need to buy seeds, I mean, there's probably a little bit of budget around for that to do that. So good. Well, thank you for all the work that went into this so far and for the summaries. It's helpful. It's good discussion, I thought. Lots of good ideas here. So as usual, we have lots of ideas and the challenges around implementation. So we have to make sure we're focused on delivering something tangible in a relevant time frame. In general, it seems like the history of the committee has been fewer things are easier to deliver than a whole bunch of things. So we'll try to keep it focused and get to stuff that we can actually get out the door. Relatively short time frame. So thank you. With that, let's move on to updates and reports, starting with staff.
Just one update for you all today. I wanted to let you know that we are partnering with Marin County and Bayren to promote their new energy efficiency discount program. Bayren is the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, so it's a sort of conglomeration of all the jurisdictions working on energy efficiency topics, and they're offering a new program that's called EASE, and it's targeting residents with a yearly income less than 120% area median income. So it's targeting sort of middle income residents in single family homes, and it can cover up to 80% of energy efficiency projects for those homes, including attic insulation, duct system repair, replacement, induction cooking, and weatherization. So there'll be a direct mailer going out to homes that we believe would qualify for this program in the next few days. And then this information is also going out in the town newsletter, website, social media, as well as to I sent it out to the age-friendly Corte Madera group. So just wanted to give you all a heads up. And if you have any other thoughts on how we can promote that program, please let me know.
Can you talk a little bit what the benefits are? So they're covering, you said up to 80% of
Sort of
So
start to
installation.
finish.
Yep.
So they're also offering project management for these homes. And that includes from the site visit, scope of work, and then construction of the projects, which can include the insulation, weatherization, pretty broad range.
Right. Is there a cap on that? I assume either project by project and or in aggregate. Do you know?
A cap on the cost it can
On
cover?
the amount that they can cover? Yeah.
The resident copay is capped at $1,000. There is a limit to how many homes they can serve with this program, and I don't know exactly what that is.
Sounds great. Thank you. Yep, okay. Any updates from committee members on other topics? No? No, okay. Karen, anything? No? Okay, in that case, on to future agenda items. I think it will be largely a rehash, the same topics that we have, but we may have additional ones. Phoebe, is there anything else on the horizon we should be thinking about?
Not on my end. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, if you have additional agenda items, please share them with me and with Phoebe between now and the next meeting. And given that, any other comments, any other business? No? I think we are adjourned. So thank you.